And welcome back to another mini episode of Chaotic Good Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Kate.
And I'm your co-host, Nate. Today, we're reviewing Trust Me, the False Prophet. It is triggering. So just a heads up, it is very, very, it was triggering for me. Kate, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was for you as well.
Yeah. It's a short docuseries on Netflix about the fundamentalist LDS church and specifically an offshoot sect involving Samuel Bateman.
Whoa.
Who was sentenced 50 years to life in prison for some of his criminal activity that he conducted while he was proclaiming to be the next prophet of the FLDS church.
And to
And,
be honest, that's not enough time. That's not.
well, considering the recent charges that were added to his sentence, I severely doubt that he's ever getting out.
I
And
hope
I
not.
don't think he has a chance of parole ever. And the people that were helping him out originally with like bail money and everything, they're also in prison. So I don't think
Yeah.
he's ever going to be able to appeal or get out for the rest of his life. But the unfortunate part of that too is he still has followers that are within that particular group. And
Yeah, they
who's to
still make
say
phone
that,
calls and they still
yeah,
follow his orders from behind bars, which is disgusting that can even be a thing. I
yeah.
I
Well, and in the
Ugh.
beginning, there is another documentary out there about the FLDS church and particularly about Warren Jeffs, um, and how he kind of led things very,
Mhm.
very off center, even from what the FLDS church started out as.
Yeah,
Um,
it got really weird under him, and then
and
Samuel Bateman just got a hold of it and made it so much worse.
yeah, so Warren Jeffs went to prison, and Samuel was like, I've received revelation from God that I am supposed to be the next leader of the church. Because while Warren Jeffs was in prison, he gave very, very strict orders to his I don't
Subordinates, I guess.
followers, I
Yes.
guess, his church, that there's to be no marriages and no more babies born while he's gone. And this other guy was like, I don't want to do that. So he starts his own little offshoot and started to convince a few other men to follow along with his lead.
Mhm.
And it culminated in this one man having, I think it was 23 wives in total.
Something like that. It was an absurd amount, and the worst part about that is how many of them were underage. How
I
many of them
believe
were just kids.
I believe it was like 9 or 10 of them were minors.
Yeah, they're children. That's
Yes.
I
Yes.
and in the documentary, it highlighted that not only did these other parents go along with him as leader, but they supported his decisions even after he was first arrested.
Yes, except for the
Mhm.
one mom
Right,
who
and
I
she
was
reached out for help.
yeah. So the documentary actually was made by this couple, Christine and Tolga. And Christine had dealt with her own experience of being in a cult
Mhm.
and having her own,
Which fair
but
enough.
sh- she had her own trauma with being in a cult and a false prophet.
Right.
And when they moved to Colorado City, Utah, which is way, way down south by the Arizona border, they encountered some of these FLDS polygamist sister wives and started to get to know them and started to figure out that something was up with this Samuel Bateman guy.
Mhm.
So they were able to talk their way into getting behind the scenes footage of what was really going on in some of their meetings and some of the houses that they were living in.
Yeah, didn't they use the ploy of, we'll make a documentary and you can get your message, whatever you want your message to be, out to the world.
Yeah.
And the guy is so full of himself that he was like, of course I want everyone to hear me speak.
He wanted Queen Elizabeth to come and be his wife.
One of the Yeah, yeah. They even made a music video type
Oh
of
my god,
deal
yeah.
with him and all of his other wives, and him wearing this like white leather set. It looked so tacky.
It was so
And
cringy.
oh, it was. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, Queen of England's going to see this because this is going to go viral. And then she's going to have to come to America and to just to meet me because I'm that awesome. And just speaking with me once, she's going to want to be my wife because I'm supposed to control all of England anyways, because that was the message given to me. I swear these guys are schizophrenic and everyone just goes along with it.
I mean, I feel like religious psychosis is possibly under a different definition in the DSM-5, but it is definitely a
Yeah, I
very
mean,
real
like the
thing.
leader themselves. Like if
Yeah.
they truly believe they're getting these, I swear they've got to have something like that. But more often than not, I feel like they're lies that they come up with that they think, "Oh, since this is a religious group, they're going to believe me more if I say, hey, I had this vision and God said this to me, or whatever deity we worship said this to me. So in my dreams or in my whatever. So now you have to do this because it was divinely said so." And they just use that as an
Mhm.
excuse to get away with whatever the hell they want to do.
Mhm. Well, I mean, in all honesty, that's very close to how the Mormon religion started. Yeah. But the FLDS, like, once they got to Utah, because they couldn't legally practice polygamy in the United States as the boundaries were at the time in the 1830s and 40s. Um, so they were basically ran out of Missouri
Hmm.
and Illinois area, and then made the trek across, the West, very similar to how the Oregon Trail was. Um, and they got to this particular area that is now Utah, but it was Mexico at the time. And nobody was really, policing the area. There was just Native Americans who had been here for thousands of years. And so this was like where they decided, hey, this is where we can legally practice our religion and continue to practice polygamy, which is having multiple wives. And after, I think, about 15, 20 or so years, they were applying for statehood. And the United States government was like, okay, but polygamy is still illegal. You cannot be a recognized, organized religion if you still practice this.
Hmm.
And they wanted statehood so badly that they were like, fine, we're not practicing it anymore. And I know that they have different revelations and context around why that happened, but that's essentially how it went down. So those who still wanted to practice polygamy, like, went to southern Utah and knew that they were going to be pretty much left alone down there and decided to continue practicing it, but they were no longer part of the main part of the LDS church, so they became the fundamentalists. And that practice of polygamy has been going on for the last 200 years almost. And watching this, understanding the history behind it, and understanding how warped and convoluted it has become because of these modern day prophets like Warren Jeffs and self proclaimed Samuel Bateman, it's like, this is just the tip of the iceberg, exposing all of the abuse that has gone on for
Hmm.
centuries at this point.
Yeah, it's too long, and I'm not really why it's been allowed to keep going. You know what I mean? Like with this documentary, with all the FBI raids and all of the other issues going on and stuff. If things are being found out here and there, I don't know how they keep somehow cropping up again.
Um, I had seen on the Reddit thread other people were bringing that up too. It was like, why didn't the police do anything sooner? And I know the FBI agent in the documentary agreed with that sentiment was like, "You have plenty of evidence here to at least have a couple of charges pressed
Mhm.
against them. Why are you doing nothing?" And people were saying, that cop was like, "He has such a gentle heart. He didn't have the heart to go and do that." And I think it had more to do with who was in whose pocket. I think it had more to do with money than anything else, which sadly is a very common thing to happen.
It's fair.
But I was really grateful to see the FBI agent taking on and being as aggressive as she was at getting these guys put away
Mhm. And it's
because somebody
nice to
needed to.
see that they didn't just take down the main leader, but,
Mm,
everyone attached to him doing his orders as well.
yeah. I think they were cousins of each other.
Something like that.
Uh,
It gets so muddled because so many family members marry so many other family members. It's like, who
yeah.
even is who anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think part of the reason they were caught was because of how much they filmed themselves doing these absolutely heinous acts to
No.
children?
From what I remembered in there, they did not find any pictures or videos of anything going on with kids, which is part of why they had such a hard time convicting him of um, the SA crimes. 'Cause they were very careful about that part, and that's part of why I guess they were saying it took them a little bit longer to take him down, is they wanted to get those charges to stick so that he was stuck permanently.
So, from what I remember, what they needed to, like, 100% have a charge was to have the testimony of a victim.
Yep, from a minor victim, any
Yeah,
one of them.
and those victims stated that these, I guess, rings of SA were happening and there were witnesses, but that they were also filmed, but they never found the film. Either it was, like, deleted or destroyed somehow.
I do remember, a scene, after they took his phone, they were trying to figure out they were filmed saying they were trying to figure out how to factory reset it remotely,
Mhm, mhm.
but they had already gotten everything off of the phone by that time, and there was not a lot of evidence that they had on the phone, but
Right,
him saying that was enough to get obstruction charges.
right, and then once they raided, I think it was the
The greenhouse?
greenhouse. Yeah, the two-bedroom house that they had all the
Mhm.
girls in. They had multiple computers in there that had, like, mountains of evidence that they needed to press those or at least several other charges. And then I think the part that I remember the most that kinda, like, stopped my heart was seeing the video of the little hands poking out over the door of the trailer,
And they were
and
holding the trailer closed so they didn't fall out and die, essentially.
yeah, like, how freaking dangerous is that? And
Mhm,
as a mother, understanding that, I think the youngest girl in there was, like, 9 or 10, and just imagining how scared she must have been in an enclosed trailer with no windows, with no ventilation. They had basically a 5-gallon bucket as their bathroom behind a curtain
mhm.
and being transported, and I don't know how far it is from Colorado City to Flagstaff, but for at least several hours in the heat, that's just crazy, and it broke me a little bit. I started crying a little bit watching that because I was like, I was scared that they were gonna fall out. I was scared that they were trying to escape. And the body cam footage of the cop when they're like, "What's your name? What's your name, dude?" And he's like, "Samuel. Samuel?" He wasn't giving his last name. And
Mhm.
then how angry, Naomi was getting at the cops. She's like, "You can't do this. You can't do that."
We're above the law kinda thing, but they were taught
Yeah.
that from, like, birth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like,
Um,
kids didn't have any idea about, how things actually worked in the real world because of all of the programming. that they had gone through in that sect. And I remember that towards the end with the interview with one of the kids that was like locked away for quite a while, and they said after about a year of being away from everybody and spending that time thinking about things, and then hearing Samuel lie to her about how he hasn't even seen anybody for like a year, or not been allowed to talk to anybody for this long. And she's like, wait a minute, it's only been like a month or two.
Mhm.
You haven't even been arrested for a year. How is that even remotely true? And then started building off of that and realizing how many lies were being fed to her. Um,
Mhm.
it was so nice to hear that she was waking up from all of that, but it's scary to think that it takes that long for
Yeah.
someone to be able to break away from all of that. It That's tough. That is
Yeah.
so tough because yes, people do have to be held responsible for their actions, but when you're a kid in that kind of an environment, your whole life, that's all you know. What is an appropriate thing to do? You know, like they're
Yeah.
doing what they were taught is right. They're not trying to be a problem, but what they were taught is right is a big problem.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Such a
deconstruction had
Yeah.
to have been really, really rough, and I think, the other girl that went to prison for the kidnapping,
Mhm,
after the minors were sent to foster care, she went and picked them up on the side of a freeway and
mhm,
drove them to Spokane. Um, she went to prison and she had said, "Prison saved me. Prison
mhm.
saved my life," because I had no idea how deep in it I was until I was in there and I was away from everything and I was away from
Yeah.
Samuel. And the older one, Naomi, somebody on Reddit said she said it the best. She was born in lies and she can't blame her parents because they were born in lies too. It goes back to how grateful I am for that one mother, Julia, to be like, "No, this can't continue. I was forced to give my children away as child brides to this so-called prophet, and I know what he's doing, and I feel in my gut that it's wrong, like maternal instinct, this is wrong." And so her working with Christine and Tolga for as long as she did, and then working with the FBI to set everything up so everybody was surprised and taken off guard when they were raided was like how brave she had to have been to go
Oh,
against her husband, to go against
uh,
Samuel and everybody
every
else.
that whole cult, the entirety of them,
Yeah.
like
Well,
her
I
whole
mean,
family
Colorado City has, like, other FLDS families that didn't follow Samuel. This was just, like, him and,
his
like
off.
yeah, his offshoot. The father, Moroni, Julia's husband.
From the way they said it, she is living away from him, but he is in prison for like 35 years.
Yeah. And so are the other guys that were involved. I think she left and is choosing to be a Gentile, in their words, living outside the
Yeah,
religion.
it sounded like a lot of the daughters made that same decision too.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Breaking away from a cult is hard. Breaking away from a cult that has been ingrained in for generations, I can't imagine how much more difficult that would be.
Yeah. The other thing that kind of bugged me, anytime that they were filming Moroni, he had this wanky ass Bluetooth headset on, like at all times.
He had to look and feel important, and that's what important people do.
Yeah.
That's the
It's
vibe
just
I got.
it's like, it's such a dad aesthetic to have, like, a cell phone holster on your belt.
Oh, yeah, that's like a very common, like, if you're a dad, you probably have this.
Yeah, with the jeans and the New Balances and the collared
That's
shirt, and then you gotta have the Bluetooth
very
headset.
yeah, it's very typical dad look as far as that
Yeah.
goes. But, Moroni did sound like was one of the only guys that actually opened up and was like, "I'm gonna tell you what's happening." Because I too thought it was wrong, but I didn't wanna go against leadership. And so that was nice that he actually opened up at least a little bit about it in court.
Yeah, I'm glad that he finally, like, told the truth because I can only imagine how much that was weighing on him, knowing that, "Oh god, I've been bamboozled. I've been lied
Basically,
to
yeah,
this
he
entire
bought
time."
into it.
It's just crazy.
And and the thing with him, I'm really torn with this guy because yes, he did the right thing at the end, but
Because he got caught.
yeah, but it was because he got caught, and how much damage had he been a part of causing? Like that
Mhm.
one scene where they were talking about how the fathers were all in the same room together as all of the girls, and I can't even go into details. I am going to absolutely lose my mind. It was, oh God, it made my skin crawl. Literally, I saw that. Like as soon as they said that sentence, I had to pause and walk away. I couldn't
Yeah.
process it. Really got under my skin. I'm glad they didn't go into much detail of anything, and they just barely surface touched it because I don't think I could handle anything else.
Yeah.
I
Well,
literally started having panic attacks.
oof.
Uh,
Yeah.
a- a- and the other big scene that you hadn't mentioned yet that really got me too was when the FBI showed up and they were getting raided, and the little girls were like, "Hey, I need my pepper spray. Hand me my AR-15 and stuff like that." And it's like, "Oh my God, these kids are so programmed. They're going to go down dying for these people that are abusing them."
It was
Like,
almost Waco all over again.
yeah, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, how can this be allowed?" I'm so glad it went the other way and they did not end up like that because God, that's heartbreaking to think about.
Yeah. Well, and, like, I got married pretty young, and I had been raised in a certain belief system that very heavily promoted young marriage, big families, respect
Mhm.
the husband as the authority, respect his word, respect the word of the prophet, because the prophet is the direct mouthpiece of God. So when you're so wrapped up in this person spewing all of this and growing up in a very strict religion, I can understand the fear that they felt if they should
Mhm,
disobey because obedience was the law. And I think that's
mhm,
something Naomi had reiterated several times was it was obey or else.
mhm.
And Julia had said something similar. It was like obey her husband, or the consequence would be her losing her two youngest children that were toddlers.
Yeah, yeah, I remember there being, they saying something about that where Samuel wanted her to sign guardianship and her parental rights away to him if she didn't comply with what he wanted.
By giving away her youngest daughter. There was something else that had popped up on Reddit too that was I don't know if you had noticed it. I noticed it a couple times, but had forgotten about it until I read this that there was a ventilator in the greenhouse.
I didn't remember that of
There was a medical ventilator, like a trach system,
a
and there was a child in that house, like a child of one of the brides is supposed to have because they never got it on camera, but they have a deficiency, basically a genetic thing that can happen from inbreeding. It's a rare metabolic disorder causing severe neurological impairment and intellectual developmental disabilities, and even to the point that they need like serious medical care 24/7.
oh,
So
no.
understanding that and how close that circle was, it would make sense that that could happen. But that's interesting that they didn't cover that in the documentary at all. Like, I understand their focus was the abuse and was Christine and Tolga trying to get these girls out of there. But I feel like if they had touched on that even a little bit, it would have hammered in even harder the long-term effects that this kind of abuse can incur.
Generational effects.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Because there are
I have
several.
such a hard time wrapping my head around that seriously, because like, how selfish do you have to be to just treat people like this and not even acknowledge all of the awful long-term side effects of your actions and the ripples, and it really gets under my
Yeah, yeah,
no,
me
it was
too.
a very it was a well done documentary, but it was a very difficult one to watch.
Yes, yeah, I would agree that it was very well done.
I do have to say this though, I was a little bit, at least at first, torn about the documentarians also being a part of the documentary itself.
Yeah, that seemed like an odd choice to me. but then after a while, it was like, I feel like they were just filming themselves going through this and then stumbled upon something bigger and just decided to keep filming. But yeah, so it was actually 4 days ago, I had seen on the news that on top of his 50-year sentence, he was convicted of child abuse charges because of the trailer incident in Flagstaff.
Because
So
that was also all of it is ridiculous. And when they were talking about how they removed all of the wives and the children of a certain age to the greenhouse and crammed all of these people into what they said was a rundown two-bedroom home out of a nice large house
mhm.
because then they were all gonna be forced to like share a bed essentially with him.
And I mean, it speaks very akin to human trafficking situations in general. And I think that's kind of what he was doing with the Flagstaff incident because they had mentioned he had bought a $250,000 private plane. He was getting
They
all
were
of them passports. He
Mhm.
was going to run. He was going to go to Mexico.
Yeah, he was gonna take off to another country with as many of his polygamist wives as he could,
We'll
and
notice that he took the youngest ones with him.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think the oldest one in that group was 22, 23 at the time. So yeah, he he is
He
the
wanted to take the most
epitome.
vulnerable ones.
Yeah, he is the epitome of a predator and a groomer.
Yeah, and it's so gross, and to think that so many other adults were like, "Oh, but he said he's the prophet, so that makes it okay." Like, no. No, it doesn't. If you're gonna claim to be a prophet of a benevolent, deity, you can't then go around and do things that are malicious.
And I know there's a lot of people that would argue, well, God can be perfect, but humans are imperfect. Like I heard it all the time growing up. The church
Same,
is perfect, the people are not. And it's like,
same.
okay, but the people make up the church.
Right, and what these people aren't really comprehending is the church isn't supposed to be a building, it's a body of people.
Mhm.
A body of imperfect people cannot be a perfect organization of any kind.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't make sense. Like, the getting out of it for even a few months and then just sitting and thinking, it's like, "Wait a minute. None of this makes any logical sense. None of it. 0."
Make
It
it make
it
sense.
Right, exactly. It's all brainwashing.
Mhm.
It's all, designed to, you submit to the leader. The leader all says you have to be obedient about everything. Don't use your brain. That's no. I've even had conversations with a clergy from a different sect that was like, hey, of kind of Christianity, and I was like discussing different passages because that's what they wanted to do. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So we'll do that. And then he's talking, and I had mentioned, an observation to him, and he's like, no, 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 you can't do that. You can't actually put logic and psychology and actual thinking into this because that's dangerous. You have to just take it for what it says.
Mhm.
It's like,
Interpret it
"W-
literally.
what?
Yeah.
Thinking is not dangerous. This book that you say you listen to literally has an entire letter written to a church about why it is so important to double check what you are being told in church services and to call out religious leaders when they say things that are not true. And you're
Mhm.
going to tell me that you read this whole book and that you read that passage and thought, nah, but not that one.
Mhm.
It doesn't make sense. You can't say this perfect book you have to follow and then cherry pick what you want to follow out of it depending on how it serves you. It pisses me off.
That is the basis for a lot of Western Christianity, though.
It is, and the more historically you dive into what the passage were actually referring to, it's all just being used out here as control because originally it was just used as ways to promote compassion and kindness and acceptance, not ways to control people.
Mhm.
I don't like it. I don't understand it. It just powerful people trying to reach for more power, more money, more whatever, and just listen to me. So many people refuse to stand up to it because either they can't or they don't know how or they don't know any different. And the people that do know the difference and can stand up, so many of them refuse to anyways. And that really gets me. Coming from that kind of background too, it really gets me,
Yeah, but
you know.
I mean, I don't. I don't want to minimize any of that, but I do want to point out the people who do stand up and say, "Hey, this is wrong." They need
Oh,
to
they get
be
annihilated.
given a bigger megaphone, a bigger soapbox to stand on, because there are a brave few who do stand up and speak up for what is morally, consciously correct instead of what is taught. Because I
Mhm.
mean, like, the Venn diagram between Western Christianity in general and capitalism is a fucking circle at this
It
point.
really is. It's at this point, it's just teaching capitalistic white nationalism, and that should not be a basis for any kind of religious belief. That's not
No.
spiritual. That's not anything other than money, 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 power, 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 power. That's all it is.
Yeah. I would argue if anybody claims that their religion is spirituality to take a hard look at where do you believe the power is coming from, because if you are taught that that power is coming from outside of yourself, that's probably a religion and a cult at best instead of actual spirituality that teaches that your power should come from within and that you do need to look inside yourself and question everything around you to understand what is truth and what is preached.
Yes, exactly, and, going to away from evangelical Christianity and going to what, was more closely, taught, originally, and looking at a lot of the original meanings for stuff in the proper context, for example, changes a lot of that, and it really, to me, says, "Hey, no, God isn't inside of all of us. So you need to talk to him on a personal level. It needs to be just you doing reflecting. It needs to be just you working on being a better person and treating people better. And here's some examples on how to be kind or respectful, or different ways you can be helpful, or different ways you can peacefully protest and still get changes made without spilling blood." Um,
Mhm,
examples like that. Those are the things I like to focus on,
mhm.
personally, because it helps me treat people better. And I agree. If anything is teaching you how to just be obedient instead of figuring out right and wrong and how to be your best self and treat people well, it's dangerous.
Understatement of the century. Well, Nate, this was a very interesting one, and I'm glad that we discussed it because I feel like it's opening a door for a lot of other discussions to be had. I
Yeah,
would definitely give this one 8 out of 10,
same actually. I'm on the
mostly
same page as you on this one. First
yeah.
time, y'all. First time we agree.
We agreed on it. Oh, man.
It was done well, but I docked it
Mhm.
because I thought it was a little bit weird that the documentarians were also part of it. I understand why thematically, because they were once working with the FBI so closely to set things up and getting film of the properties, so that way it was easier and quicker and safer, to take all of this down, but it was still strange.
Agree that that part was odd, but I have seen other documentaries that are similar that have done that before.
Yeah.
I I was gonna dock it because of how many details that they left out,
Well, see, I
about
didn't even know about a lot of those until you had brought it up.
I mean, this is kind of an issue I have with Netflix documentaries in general, is they just do, like, surface level investigations to give you that shock factor without going to the nitty-gritty details of how bad it actually was. I've
Yeah,
kind of
and
been,
same
on a documentary, like,
a kick.
kick
Yeah.
recently, and I've
There's
been
another
watching
one, my girlfriend and I are gonna watch, I think, tonight.
which one?
The one about that, the young lady that stole a baby and pretended that it was hers?
Maternal Instinct?
Yes.
I watched that this weekend. You're
Okay,
gonna
we
have
were
to
gonna
let me
watch that, I
know.
think, tonight.
Yeah, that one made me actually nauseous.
Honestly, this one did too for me, so I can't imagine then.
But yeah. So 8 out of 10 was pretty good, was pretty
Mhm.
dark, twisty, awful. Unfortunately, it is a part of some people's reality, and there is such a big rabbit hole that we could go down about all of this and about religion in general. And
Well, yeah, if any of this strikes a chord with any of you, let us know in the comments down below, what you would
yeah,
like us to discuss, and also let us know your opinions or if you have any stories you wanna share as well.
yes, please. As someone who has had to deconstruct a lot in her life, I feel like finding community within that is pretty powerful. So,
Agreed, agreed.
yeah, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, find us wherever you can. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and all over social media. So,
Yep, anywhere that you can see, watch, or listen, we're probably there.
yeah, pretty much. All right, Nate. We'll chat with you later.
Yep, bye, everybody.
Bye.